Would like to once again lead off today's video by saying a big thank you, especially today, to everyone for your patience this Monday, 14 November 2022. It is already 18 hours. That is, of course, 6:18 p.m. for those of you in the civilian world. Here on the northeastern coast of Florida, it is currently 68.4 degrees. We had a high today of 78.1, a low of 53.8. Winds are currently south-southeast. 148 degrees at about 1.1 miles per hour, barometer 30.1 and rising just slightly. It was a perfect day today. Just had so many things going on. The day kind of got away from me. Thank you once again for your patience. Also, those of you who are continuing to file in over at the Florida Maquis Patreon channel, we're starting to get a very steady stream over there. Many more people are showing up than are canceling, and so we're building audience. People are starting to get it. Psychological operations is not telling people what to think. It can be used to manipulate people into thinking things that aren't true, but when done in quote-unquote the white hat paradigm, it frees people from their chains. It shows folks the three basic methods of persuasion: logos, ethos, and pathos. Combined with the 24 cognitive biases, the 24 logical fallacies, it gives people tools for the 21st century battle space, the information battle space, so that they can see when they are being led down a road and not being given all the information and being given information that's colored to make them think they came to a conclusion on their own when they really didn't. Now, for the last year, we've been talking about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Something very strange happened about a year ago. After all the speculators got a hold of it, inflation started to creep into our economy, and things started to run out on the shelves. And these difficult times that had been warned of for many, many years arrived. And for years, the Bitcoin folks had said, hold on to this because this will hold its value. And as soon as it was tested, it collapsed. Right now, 16,383 with absolutely no chance really of any recovery. To give you an example of what that means for those who got into Bitcoin a while back, it is currently down 75% of its value in the last year. But how many of you remember, and I got a lot of pushback from a lot of crypto guys on this, I made the analogy with black sales. I said, what's happening is there are a lot of pirates out there, and they're using this as a money laundering scheme. And I said, everybody go watch black sales. What they did is they went and they robbed this huge Spanish galleon full of actual gold, real currency. They took it to their little island where they had their hideout, and they started laundering it into rubies and pearls, and they ran it through the whole prostitution thing, and they were getting rid of it. And the Spanish knew it was going to be gone. And eventually the Spanish came and reclaimed it. Well, guess what, guys? Guess what? There's an article out today that proves this exact analogy is true. And this is going to make a lot of folks a little bit queasy when they read this. So just be warned. Failed crypto exchange was money laundering operation. Report: FTX took in millions in donations for Ukraine, but allegedly rerouted sums back to primarily Democrat U.S. politicians, according to Gateway Pundit. Samuel Bankman-Fried, the founder of the failed cryptocurrency exchange FTX, allegedly laundered billions of dollars through Ukraine. Oh, by the way, all of you out there who also are saying, well, that's why I never kept my crypto on exchanges. If there hadn't been the exchanges, guys, without those exchanges, you would have never seen crypto go to $60,000 or $68,000. Those exchanges were the reason crypto had that level of value, because it made it accessible to so many people with their dollars. But anyway, continuing. Laundered billions of dollars through Ukraine by setting up his company as the central clearinghouse for all crypto donations to Kiev's war effort. According to the Gateway Pundit, Democratic politicians sending aid to Ukraine would see their money come back in the form of donations through FTX, the outlet claimed. FTX launched crypto donation platform Aid for Ukraine in March, setting itself up as the central clearinghouse for all cryptocurrency donations to Kiev's war effort. While the exchange was supposed to route those donations to the National Bank of Ukraine, the report suggests it funneled at least some of the money back to the U.S. through political donations. Bankman-Fried was the second largest donor to the Democratic Party for the midterms, pouring some $38 million into candidates' coffers in 2022 alone. The Ukrainian government had already received over $60 million in crypto donations as of March. FTX did not publish the amount subsequently taken in, but other fundraising campaigns on Kiev's behalf have been hugely successful. Star Wars, for example. Mark Hamill raised enough funds to buy 500 drones in a single month. Whatever funds the exchange had under management have presumably evaporated with the rest of its assets due to an alleged hack last week. Alleged hack. And the exchange filed for bankruptcy on Friday. The resulting chaos has sent crypto markets spiraling. In addition to bankrolling political campaigns, Bankman-Fried spent millions lobbying to shape cryptocurrency regulations. Democrats responsible for overseeing the Commodity Futures Trading Commission were particular targets for his largesse, and he is now under investigation by that same agency for moving $10 billion in client assets off FTX to his hedge fund, Alameda Research. While Bankman-Fried's private jet has been tracked to Argentina, the disgraced billionaire insisted on Saturday that he was still in the Bahamas. You see, none of this was supposed to happen, or even be able to happen with crypto. All of the transactions are completely transparent. Everything can be seen. Nobody can hide anything. We got all this garbage from all these crypto preachers about how secure it was and how it was the future and this couldn't happen. Well, this proves it. This proves that it can be done, and that this guy could easily manipulate, backdoor the numbers without anybody seeing anything or there being any kind of a trail. And this is going to have long-term ramifications. When a guy like Jeff Bezos, who runs Amazon, says, quote, hold off on big purchases like TVs, Jeff Bezos warns, 14 November 2022 at 2:47 p.m. Eastern Time, you should probably listen. When the guy running Amazon says, now might not be the time to make a big purchase, you might want to listen. I know he's not Mr. Perfect, but he knows business. You don't get to be a billionaire and be stupid. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos recently warned consumers and businesses they should consider postponing large purchases in the coming months as the global economy contends with a downturn and faces a possible recession. See, they're waiting for after the holidays to let everybody know what's happening. Bezos urged people to put off expenditures for big-ticket items such as new cars, televisions, and appliances, noting that delaying big purchases is the surest way to keep some quote-unquote dry powder. This means open credit cards, by the way. When he says dry powder here, this means whether you like it or not, you might have to use some credit cards for a time. In the event of a prolonged economic downturn, meanwhile, small businesses may want to avoid making large capital expenditures or acquisitions or hire during this uncertain time. And look, what he's saying is going to mean lower sales for Amazon. They're laying off 10,000 workers. So his actions, you see, and that's kind of the key of psychological operations. Okay, he says this, but do his actions match that? Well, yeah. He's been warning of layoffs for a long time, and they did. They just handed out 10,000 pink slips because they're not going to have work for him. And it's already taken down Solana. I got this too. Well, Bitcoin is this, that, and the other, and this other thing, but these other alternative coins, to the moon, Ripple, to the moon, and all the... It's all going down. It's all going down. It was all a scam to pull wealth out of the world reserve currency and hide it. And you see, that's the key. And hide it. And then have it magically reappear whenever somebody else wanted to. You see, if you have $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 in the bank, that's accounted for. Governments know it's there. The banks know it's there. But when you take money out of the system and you don't purchase anything, like for example, if you took $1,000 and you went and bought a really nice big screen TV, okay, they can still track your money. Your $1,000 went to big screen TV store. And then what they did with the money, that's all there. And you have a TV. So the money doesn't disappear when you spend it. It goes to someplace else. But when you put it in cryptocurrency, then it just goes into this magical ether place where no value has been created for it. And at one time, $3 trillion of world value had literally evaporated into the cryptosphere, having created no value. And actually having destroyed value, by the way, with all of the excess amount of energy needed to run the networks. So literally, it was a threat to world security. That's how bad this was. And that's why this was eventually going to happen one way or the other. Because it was taking way more than it was giving, just like any Ponzi scheme would. And there's a really great analogy, and boy, it makes a lot of people mad to hear it. It makes a lot of people mad to hear it because it messes with their head. The garden versus jungle worldview of the EU's top diplomat is not only racist, it's absolutely perfectly logical. The difference between a garden and a jungle. You see, people take pictures of the jungle like this, and they're like, "Ooh, that looks so cool. I want to go there. That looks so awesome. That would be such a neat place to..." Trust me. Speaking as someone who served in a jungle, it's the last place you ever want to be. If you would go down there for a week or two with a large group, fully kitted out for it, meaning having the ability to stave off the effects of the jungle, it might be an okay 1 week vacation. But to live down there indefinitely, jungles are horrible, horrible, nasty, stinky, dangerous places. That's why civilized people don't live there. They'll drive you mad. A lot of people don't understand this either, and only somebody who's been down there would know this. They drive you mad over a long enough period of time because everything moves and everything crawls. There is never any quiet. Ever. Never. Not even in the middle of the night. There's always some kind of noise, and everything is soaking wet all the time. There's never getting anything dry. It's the most insane thing. Imagine having a huge spill of water on your counter out in your kitchen, and you go out there with a roll of paper towels and you wipe it up, and you come back later and it's there 5 minutes later, and you wipe it up again, and then come back 5 minutes later, and you go through 8, 10 rolls of paper towel, and you can never get your counter dry. That's what the jungle is. And this is what is being talked about by this EU diplomat. People that live in the jungles, that do the few, have learned very quickly you have to live way up off the floor of the jungle. Literally, you're not living in the jungle at this point. You're building a habitation in the air above the jungle. And this is the only way you can survive and have any level of sanity. I still don't know how they deal with the noise long term. Who remembers the scene from Predator with Jesse Ventura? See, Jesse Ventura was actually special forces. He was in the military. The whole, this shit's on this makes Cambodia look like Kansas. He's talking about South America. Don't let him fool you. See, artist renderings will show things like this. Oh, the jungle would be the neatest place, and it would be just like the little furry things. Who were the Ewoks in Star Trek? No. Nope. Sorry. You see, the garden on the other side of the spectrum is neat and orderly, and it serves a purpose. There are places where things don't grow. And there are places where only one thing grows. You have radishes, and you have rutabaga, and you have carrot, and you have potato, and you have corn, and you can roll right down the list. And it doesn't make you, and here's the key, and this is where I'm really going to kind of mess with some people's heads. It doesn't make you potatoist to plant only carrots over here and have only potatoes over there. It doesn't make you a carrotophobe because you put sweet corn and only sweet corn over here and then only beans over in this other place. Everything stays in its lane in a garden. And that's why gardens are useful, and gardens are a blessing, and gardens are wonderful and are productive. Jungles are not. This is why we got rid of the jungles when we came to this country. It was just a huge untamed forest. What was the quote from Hamlet? Fight on fight is, 'tis an unweeded garden that grows to seed. Things rank and gross possess it merely. In nature. Possess it in nature merely. Speaking of that time, Denmark, how literally anything and everything went. He was speaking of the incestuous nature of the marriage of his mother after his father died to his father's brother. And even though that was technically a biblical thing to do back then, he was seeing it as just, there were no lanes anymore. Anything went. Everything was okay. And that's what this EU diplomat was talking about. The garden versus jungle. And, it's just the reality. If you want to go live in an unbridled, free, unfettered, capitalist, free market society, I would invite you and I would encourage you, go live in Brazil. Go live out on the edge of civilization in Brazil, or just go to Africa. This is the home of unfettered capitalism. You want to go someplace where there are no rules and might makes right and you can buy anything with no lanes, so to speak? Please, go visit the poorest place in the world. You see, that's something that a lot of people, they want to scratch their heads. They decry socialism and they want to lift up and talk about how capitalism has made everybody rich. Horseshit. Horseshit. We have capitalism and free markets in this country, but with lanes. I used this analogy before. Africa is skipping the 20th century. There are going to be millions and millions of people in Africa that know how to use a smartphone, but have no idea how to use a commode. I'll say it again. Imagine knowing how to use a smartphone and how to sanitize the smartphone, but never having gone into a real bathroom, connected to real plumbing, used the facilities, went to the sink, and washed your hands, unless you were in a hospital somewhere. But in your normal, everyday neighborhood, the only place you can go relieve yourself is an outhouse. But you have a smartphone. You have an iPhone. And you know how to charge one of those up. And how to log on to networks and how to, surf the net. No shower. Maybe a little sprinkle shower outside, but what North Americans enjoy, even in the most basic, fundamental of houses and apartment complex, just to build an apartment complex or build the very basic house, there are so many evil, terrible, horrible, I guess, socialist standards for building those houses. They have to be a certain height above the ground. There has to be a certain way the electric is done, a certain way the plumbing is done, a certain way the roof is put on. And all that has to pass inspection, even at the most basic level. That is far and away beyond anything that is even thought of in Africa. And all that adds expense. That's why houses are very expensive, comparatively speaking, to the rest of the world. In North America, because we have these things we take for granted that are socialism. So, I'm sure I'm going to get some pushback for that too, but The garden versus the jungle is the perfect analogy for pirate world versus civilization. Pirate world seems great and wonderful and sexy and attractive and free, but man, the smell, the danger, just like the jungle. It's not someplace you want to live. It's not civilization. So I'll leave it there. Join us on Patreon. Love to have you. $1, that's it. Only $1 per month. Fully refundable up to 90 days. This is the lowest allowable level that you can charge on Patreon for everybody. There's well over 100 videos there already. Over the next 3 months, you could watch tons and tons and tons of content. Spend your $3. If it's not for you, you can inbox me over there, unlike here, and say, hey, it's not for me. Get your $3 back. If that's what you want to do, that's what you could do. But trust me, there's a lot you could take away. There's a lot you could learn, and you would be able to see things like what happened here, how they took money, laundered it, and sent it to Democrats, and wondering if that maybe might have something to do with why the midterms were what they were, especially with all of these races still yet to be counted in California. So once again, God bless. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.